Yeah, my question is kind of in regard to the monologue and Epstein. I'm curious why the media, well, not the media, but why the right wing has been so obsessed with this story. But now that there's actually documentation coming out about the Russia collusion hoax, it seems to be going completely under the radar. And even you personally, Mark, I know that you've held the media accountable for the cover up of Joe Biden's, cognitive decline, but I haven't heard you talk a lot about the lack of coverage or in-depth investigation into what was basically a 4-year obsession with something that was very likely created by the Obamas and the Clintons working together to take down, Trump in his first administration.
Well, I have talked about it over the years. I haven't talked about it as recently because it's not as recent. But it's incredible, and it's the same phenomenon in this respect: outrageously biased coverage, and coverage clearly intended to help one side and hurt the other side, and then virtually no accountability for what they did. Washington Post media critic Eric Wemple uh, did a really long series, I think it was, on Rachel Maddow and all of her coverage of this, and didn't write much about his own paper and what they did. So this is another area where there are tens of millions of you who feel the way you do, who say, how can, even if they're not super ardently for Trump, say, how can the press ask to be treated like a credible arbiter of the national conversation when they would do this? So for those of you who don't know what happened today, the head director of national intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, number 10, please. This is something I'm sure the president's highly interested in. uh, she, in her job, has been going through the records, and the Biden folks, the Obama folks, left behind a paper trail of what they did in the context of the 2016 campaign, where the premise was that the Russians colluded with Donald Trump to steal the election. I will say, I did quite a bit of reporting on this at the time and afterwards. It was a tough situation for Barack Obama because the intelligence community was getting legitimate and, as far as I'm concerned, undisputed indications that Russia was trying to interfere in the election to help Donald Trump. Not about collusion, but about the Russians feeling that way. And so it's a difficult decision. If you did this as like a case study at the Kennedy School of Government. You're the president of the United States. You're a Democrat. You're trying to help Hillary Clinton win the election, and your intelligence community, wearing not your political hat but your governmental hat, says the Russians are trying to do this. Do you say it publicly? Do you try to warn people publicly that this is happening, knowing that if you say it, uh, you could be accused of helping Hillary Clinton win the election because you're basically saying Russia's for this guy and not for her. Very difficult choice, and I interviewed a bunch of people who were involved in that. That's a clean choice. What's being alleged and the suspicion is that they tried to make it seem like it was not just Russia helping Trump, but Trump working with Russia. So put up number 10, please. I'm gonna have to make these bigger for my tired old eyes for me to see them. Obama administration manufactured intelligence to create 2016 Russian election interference narrative, documents show. So what Tulsi Gabbard is arguing is, you can replace this one, Sam, please, with number 11. What she's arguing is that the documents suggest not just that they were trying to be honored brokers here, but that they in fact made stuff up to make it look worse for Trump than it was. Gabbard threatens prosecution against Obama administration officials for treasonous conspiracy. Now, I've not waded into documents, so I don't want to weigh in on the accuracy of this. But she is making criminal referrals, and uh, it's without a doubt, Dustin, as your question suggested, that this attempt was led to the Mueller investigation, and the President Trump feeling strongly. People, I think, it'd be good if people on the left had sympathy for this. It seems pretty self-evident that much of Donald Trump's presidency was consumed by having to deal with an independent counsel investigation that really, when it ended, people say, well, it showed Russia tried to help Trump. That's different than a collusion. So to your point about me, I have talked about this over the years a lot. Maybe I should reference it more when I talk about the Biden stuff, but as you know, it's my own special hobby horse to talk about the Biden cognitive decline. Dustin, thank you. Appreciate that.